Do porn stars always want sex? Here's the truth. When people think about adult performers, they often imagine one thing. These must be people who always want sex all the time, every day, with endless desire and zero limits. It's one of the most common assumptions in modern culture and one of the most inaccurate. The truth is surprising, human, and far more important than most people realize. Because if we misunderstand them, we may also misunderstand ourselves, our partners, and what healthy sexuality actually looks like. Stay with me because by the end of this talk, you may completely rethink desire, attraction, and intimacy. Let's begin with the biggest myth. If someone works in adult entertainment, they must naturally crave sex more than everyone else. Career choice does not automatically equal biology. People enter industries for many reasons: money, opportunity, curiosity, flexibility, fame, independence, or personal comfort with sexuality. Some may have high libidos, some average, some low. Just like teachers, athletes, artists, or business owners, there is no single personality type and no single sex drive. Now let's talk about something people often forget. Performance is not the same as pleasure. On camera, scenes are produced, planned, repeated, edited, and writing matters, angles matter, timing matters. Sometimes scenes stop and restart multiple times. What viewers interpret as nonstop passion is often professional performance. Just as actors in action films are not really living explosions every day, performers in adult content are not living in constant spontaneous desire. Another major truth is that sexual desire is deeply human and deeply variable. Stress affects libido. Sleep affects libido. Hormones affect libido. Anxiety affects libido. Relationship conflict affects libido. Adult performers are not immune to stress, fatigue, emotional pain, or burnout. They experience the same biological and emotional realities everyone else does. Some days desire may be high, some days low, some days absent entirely. There is also a mental side people rarely discuss. When sexuality becomes linked to work, schedules, cameras, expectations, and pressure, it can change how intimacy feels. Some performers have spoken publicly about needing separation between work sexuality and personal sexuality. That means private intimacy may require emotional safety, trust, and calm, just like it does for many people outside the industry. This leads to an important lesson for everyday relationship. They wonder, why don't we want sex constantly? Or why isn't our relationship like what I see online? Because real intimacy is not a performance. Real intimacy includes communication, vulnerability, affection, laughter, awkward moments, boundaries, and changing desire over time. That is normal. That is healthy. Healthy sexual desire doesn't mean always being ready. It means understanding your body, respecting boundaries, communicating honestly, and recognizing that desire naturally rises and falls. There's no universal standard you must meet. So do porn stars always want sex? Number. They are people, not stereotypes. They experience desire, exhaustion, emotion, complexity, and individuality just like anyone else. And maybe the bigger truth is this: the moment we stop comparing human sexuality to fantasy, we create space for healthier confidence, healthier relationships, and a more honest understanding of intimacy. Most people believe adult performers must live in a constant state of desire. They imagine that because someone works in the adult industry, that person naturally wants sex all the time, enjoys every sexual moment effortless, and experiences a level of passion far beyond ordinary people. It is a powerful myth repeated through media, jokes, online culture, and fandom. The first truth is that job choice does not automatically reveal someone's inner emotional world or biological sex drive. People choose careers for many reasons, and sexuality-related work is no different. Some may enter for financial opportunity, some for flexibility, some for curiosity, some for confidence, and some because it feels like a practical decision at a certain point in life. Assuming the same personality or the same libido is no more accurate than assuming every athlete loves exercise every minute of the day or every chef is always hungry.
Human beings are more complex than the roles they play professionally. Another misunderstanding comes from confusing visibility with reality.
When people watch content created for entertainment, they are seeing selected moments designed to create a certain impression. What appears effortless, spontaneous, and endless is often planned, managed, repeated, and professionally executed. The viewer sees a final product, not the behind the scenes reality of schedules, lighting, direction, breaks, fatigue, and performance pressure. That same misunderstanding happens in many professions. A singer may smile on stage while a customer service worker may sound cheerful during a difficult day. A performer can appear passionate while simply doing skilled work. Biology also matters more than fantasy. Desire is affected by hormones, stress, sleep, mental health, physical health, relationship satisfaction, and emotional state. Adult performers are not separate from these realities. They can feel stress before work, low energy after long days, emotional distance during difficult times, or increased desire during positive phases of life. Some may have high libidos, others average, others low, and many fluctuate over time. There is no permanent level of desire attached to a profession. The myth becomes harmful when ordinary people compare themselves to it. Someone may think, if I don't want sex constantly, something is wrong with me. A partner may believe a healthy relationship means endless readiness and nonstop excitement. These beliefs create shame, pressure, and disappointment. In reality, healthy sexuality is fleximents and life stages. It responds to stress, trust, communication, and self-image. It is not a machine that stays switched on forever. Understanding this myth also helps us see performers as people rather than symbols. They have boundaries, preferences, insecurities, emotions, and some may separate work intimacy from personal intimacy completely. Some may value emotional connection deeply outside of work. Some may need rest rather than stimulation after performing. These responses are normal human responses. The biggest lesson is that sexuality should be understood through honesty, not fantasy. Wanting sex all the time is not the standard of health. Being able to communicate needs, respect limits, understand your body, and build real connection matters far more than constant desire. When we let go of stereotypes, we stop judging others and stop judging ourselves, and that creates a healthier view of intimacy for everyone. One of the biggest misunderstandings is that intimacy is not just about sex, but about connection, trust, and emotional intimacy. About sexuality comes from believing that what happens on camera reflects what happens in real life. Many people watch adult content and assume they are witnessing pure passion, effortless chemistry, and nonstop pleasure. Oh, it can look spontaneous, intense, and perfectly natural. But what viewers often forget is that they are watching a performance created for entertainment, not a documentary of genuine intimacy. This difference matters deeply because confusing performance with pleasure can distort how people understand sex, relationships, and even their own expectations. In any entertainment industry, the goal is to create an experience for the audience. Movies create drama, action scenes create danger, and romantic scenes create emotional intensity. Adult content does the same with sexuality. The final product is designed to appear seamless and exciting, but behind the scenes there may be lighting adjustments, camera repositioning, repeated takes, pauses, scripted direction, and technical planning. Scenes may stop and restart many times. What looks like endless passion may actually involve patience, coordination, and stamina rather than spontaneous desire. This does not mean performers are never enjoying themselves, but it does mean visible reactions are not always a direct measure of internal pleasure. Performance requires expression. Actors smile, cry, laugh, or look terrified on command. In the same way, adult performers may exaggerate reactions, body language, or sounds because the audience expects visual intensity. What is shown is often amplified to communicate excitement through a screen. Real pleasure, however, is usually more subtle and personal. It may involve trust, comfort, emotional connection, slow pacing, humor, communication, or moments that would never appear dramatic enough for entertainment. Real intimacy often looks very different from staged content. When someone is working under time limits, production expectations, camera awareness, and physical demands, their attention may be divided. Instead of focusing purely on sensation, they may need to think about positioning, timing, direction, or professionalism. Many people know this feeling in other settings. Even enjoyable activities become harder to enjoy fully when pressure is added. The same principle applies here. This misunderstanding can create harmful expectations in everyday life. Some people begin to think sex should always look polished, intense, and perfectly synchronized. They may expect partners to respond dramatically or maintain endless energy. They may believe awkward moments, pauses, laughter, communication, or changing rhythm are signs that something is wrong. But those ordinary moments are often signs of real connection, not failure. Human intimacy is rarely choreographed. It includes imperfection, learning, tenderness, and adaptation. It also depends on emotional context. Feeling safe, desired, respected, relaxed, and connected often shapes satisfaction more than appearance or technique. Those ingredients are hard to film and impossible to fake long term. They matter far more in real relationships. When people compare real life to staged fantasy, they may miss the value of authentic closeness happening right in front of them. The healthier perspective is to recognize that performance serves an audience while pleasure serves the people involved. They are not the same thing. Entertainment is built to be watched. Intimacy is built to be felt. Once we understand that difference, we can release unrealistic expectations and focus on communication, comfort, and genuine connection instead of trying to imitate a script that was never meant to represent reality in the first place. Many people assume that adult performers must naturally want sex more than everyone else, as if choosing that profession automatically proves they have an unusually high libido. It sounds logical on the surface, but it misunderstands how human desire actually works. Sexual desire is not determined by job title, appearance, confidence, or public image. It is shaped by biology, psychology, environment, relationships, stress, health, and individual personality. In other words, the question is not whether performers want sex more than others. The truth is that they vary just like everyone else. Libido exists on a wide spectrum. Often and feel frequent desire. Others feel moderate desire that depends on mood or connection. Some feel low desire and may only become interested under specific circumstances. Many people move across this spectrum during different seasons of life. Hormonal changes, age, medication, sleep quality, anxiety, depression, stress, body image, trauma history, and relationship satisfaction can all raise or lower desire. No profession exempts someone from these realities. Adult performers may have high libido, average libido, low libido, or fluctuating libido, just like teachers, doctors, athletes, artists, or office workers. One reason people make this assumption is visibility bias. When someone publicly works in a sexualized industry, observers interpret that visibility as proof of constant desire. But willingness to perform sexuality publicly is not the same thing as privately craving sex all the time. Confidence, comfort with nudity, financial motivation, professional boundaries, or career opportunity can all play a role. A person may be skilled at sexual performance without having an extraordinary libido. Just as a fitness instructor may not love exercising every minute of the day, a performer may not constantly desire sex outside of work. Another key factor is responsive versus spontaneous desire. Some people feel spontaneous desire that appears seemingly out of nowhere. Others feel responsive desire, meaning interest grows after emotional closeness, touch, relaxation, or the right environment. Both patterns are normal. Many people wrongly believe that constant spontaneous desire is the only healthy version of sex. It is not. Some performers may have responsive desire patterns like millions of other people, meaning context matters more than raw frequency. Stress is another major factor often ignored. Long work hours, public scrutiny, travel, relationship complications, financial pressure, and performance expectations can reduce libido significantly. Even highly sexual people can experience low desire during stressful periods. Human bodies prioritize survival and stress management over erotic interest when pressure rises. That is basic physiology, not failure. Comparing yourself to imagined standards can be damaging. Someone may think, if I don't want sex every day, something is wrong with me. Or a partner may believe real attraction means non-stop desire. These myths create insecurity and unnecessary pressure. Healthy desire is not measured by frequency alone and workable within your life and relate authentic, consensual, enjoyable, and workable within your life and relationships. The better question is not who wants sex more, but what supports desire in each individual person. It is novelty. For others, rest reduces stress or feeling appreciated. Desire is personal, not competitive. So do adult performers want sex more than others? Some might not. Many are probably average. What matters is understanding that libido is a human trait with enormous natural variation, not a label assigned by career choice. Once we accept that truth, we stop using stereotypes as standards and start building a healthier, more realistic understanding of sexuality grounded in individuality rather than fantasy. One of the least discussed truths about working in a sexual performance industry is the mental and emotional impact it can have on attraction, connection, and desire must constantly out. Many people assume that if someone is surrounded by sexual experiences, their desire must constantly increase, sometimes create the opposite effect. Human sexuality is not only physical, it is deeply connected to the mind, emotions, identity, safety, and meaning. When those areas are affected, desire can change in ways many people never consider. A major factor is the difference between personal intimacy and professional performance. When sexuality becomes part of a job, it may involve schedules, deadlines, expectations, contracts, cameras, public judgment, and the need to perform on cue. Even if someone is comfortable with the work, these elements can shift the emotional experience. Activities that are pleasurable in private can feel very different when tied to obligation or external pressure. Many people understand this principle in other areas of life. Cooking for pleasure feels different from cooking under constant pressure in a busy restaurant. Singing for fun feels different from performing nightly under scrutiny. Sexuality can be affected in the same way. Another mental impact is emotional compartmentalization. Some performers may separate work sexuality from personal sexuality to protect their private emotional life. This can be a healthy coping skill and professional boundary. It allows a person to keep work experiences from defining their intimate relation, can also require energy. Switching between professional mode and vulnerable personal connection is not always simple. Trust, softness, affection, and emotional openness may need to be rebuilt intentionally outside of work. Repetition can also influence attraction. When something becomes routine, structured, or associated with work demands, novelty may decrease. This does not mean someone loses all desire. It means desire may shift toward contexts that feel emotionally meaningful rather than purely physical. Some may crave tenderness, privacy, and genuine affection more than intensity. Others may need distance and rest after periods of heavy performance. These are normal psychological responses, not signs of dysfunction. Public perception can create additional strain. Being judged, objectified, misunderstood, or reduced to a stereotype can affect self-image and relationship. Imagine people assuming they know your private desires simply because of your profession. That pressure can create emotional fears, being fetishized rather than truly known as a person. New partners harder if someone fears being fetishized rather than truly known as a person. Stress itself is one of the strongest enemies of libido, and anyone in the Shao exhaustion can reduce desire, and emotional exhaustion can reduce desire in anyone. Performers are not immune. In fact, industries with public scrutiny and inconsistent schedules may intensify the stressors. This can lead to times when someone wants emotional peace more than sexual stimulation. There is an important lesson here for everyone. Desire is not powered only by exposure or opportunity. It is strongly shaped by mental health, emotional safety, respect, and balance. More sexual activity does not automatically equal more desire. Sometimes the opposite happens when pressure replaces connection. Healthy intimacy often grows best where there is trust, autonomy, and space to be human rather than perform. So the mental and emotional impact matters because it reminds us that sexuality is never just mechanical. It is connected to how people feel inside. Whether someone works in entertainment or lives an ordinary private life, attraction and desire respond to stress, meaning, connection, and emotional well-being. Understanding that truth helps us move beyond stereotypes and see sexuality as something living, complex, and deeply human, rather than something that simply turns on and stays on forever. One of the most important truths people need to understand is that healthy sexual desire does not mean wanting sex all the time. Many people grow up believing that a strong libido should be constant, automatic, and always available. They assume that if desire decreases, changes, or depends on context, something must be wrong. This belief creates anxiety, shame, pressure, and unnecessary comparison. In reality, healthy desire is not about nonstop frequency. It is about authenticity, flexibility, connection, and the ability to understand your own needs and communicate them honestly. Sexual desire naturally changes over time. It rises and falls across days, weeks, and life stages. Stressful periods can reduce interest. Feeling rested and emotionally connected can. Hormonal shifts, physical health, medications, aging, mental health, body image, relationship quality, and life responsibilities all influence libido. A person with healthy sexuality may want sex often during one season of life and less often during another. That variation is normal. Desire is responsive to life, not fixed like a machine. Another key truth is that desire does not look the same for everyone. Some people experience spontaneous desire where interest appears suddenly and frequently. Others experience responsive desire where interest grows after affection, emotional closeness, touch, or relaxation begin. Both are normal patterns. Many people wrongly assume spontaneous desire is the only real form of attraction. Because of that myth, someone may think their relationship is failing when one partner needs warmth, time, or emotional connection before desire appears. In truth, many healthy people function this way. Healthy desire also includes boundaries. Wanting sex sometimes and not wanting it other times is normal. Being able to say yes freely and say no without guilt is part of sexual well-being. If desire exists only under pressure, fear, obligation, or constant performance, that is not healthy desire. Genuine sexuality thrives when consent is clear, communication is safe, and both people feel respect. Boundaries do not weaken intimacy. They protect. Comparison is another major problem. People compare themselves to movies, social media stories, friends' exaggerations, or unrealistic fantasies. They may ask why they are not more adventurous, more frequent, or more instantly responsive. But sexual health cannot be measured against someone else's script. Every couple has different rhythms, needs, and expressions of intimacy. For some, frequent sex feels natural. For others, emotional closeness, touch, affection, and occasional sex create a fulfilling bond. There is no universal scorecard. Communication is one of the strongest signs of healthy desire. Being able to discuss preferences, mismatched timing, fantasies, concerns, or changing needs without shame builds intimacy far more than pretending to meet unrealistic standards. A couple that communicates honestly often has a healthier sexual relationship than a couple chasing performance without connection. Self-awareness matters too. Knowing what helps you feel safe, relaxed, attractive, energized, and connected allows desire to grow more naturally. Sometimes the issue is not low libido at all, but chronic stress, resentment, exhaustion, unresolved conflict, or lack of privacy. Addressing the real cause is far more effective than blaming yourself. So what does healthy sexual desire actually look like? It looks human. It changes, adapts, responds, pauses, returns, and it includes enthusiasm sometimes, tenderness sometimes, and rest sometimes. It values consent over pressure and connection over comparison. It is not defined by how often you want sex, but by whether your sexuality feels honest, respectful, and alive within the reality of your life and relationships. The biggest truth everyone needs to hear is that the conversation about porn stars is rarely just about porn stars. It is often about the myths people carry into their own lives about sex, confidence, relationships, and what it means to be desirable. Many people look at performers and imagine they represent the highest level of sexuality, constant desire, endless confidence, perfect bodies, effortless pleasure, and complete sexual mastery. But when we believe that image without questioning it, we create unrealistic standards that can quietly damage our self-esteem and relationship. It is about us and the expectations we absorb. One of the most harmful myths is that being sexually healthy means always being ready, always confident, and always intensely passionate. Real life does not work that way. Human beings get tired, they feel stressed, they have emotional ups and downs, they experience insecurity, grief, anxiety, distraction, hormonal changes, and changing priorities. When people compare themselves to fantasy-based images of constant readiness, they are often comparing themselves to idealized versions of themselves, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. They may conclude something is wrong with them when they are simply experiencing normal human variation. If a relationship is healthy, sex should always be dramatic, intense, and spontaneous. But lasting intimacy usually depends on quieter skills: communication, patience, emotional safety, humor, honesty, forgiveness, and the willingness to learn each other over time. Those qualities rarely look flashy, but they are what sustain real connection. Couples who understand this often feel less pressure and more closeness. Means looking perfect, knowing everything sexually, or never feeling awkward. True confidence is usually much simpler. It means being comfortable enough to communicate, ask questions, express boundaries, and stay present even when things are imperfect. It means not needing to perform a role to feel worthy. Many people spend years chasing an image of confidence when what they really need is self-acceptance. There is also a powerful lesson about respect. When we reduce people to fantasies or stereotypes, we stop seeing them as full human. Porn stars are often assumed to be one-dimensional symbols of desire rather than individuals with boundaries, emotions, private lives, and varying experiences. The same mistake happens in everyday dating when people objectify others based on appearance alone. Healthy relationships begin when people feel seen as people, not roles. Another truth everyone needs to hear is that comparison steals joy. Comparing your body, libido, relationship frequency, technique, or experiences to edited entertainment almost always leads to insecurity. Real intimacy is personal. What works beautifully for one couple may not suit another at all. There is no universal script, no correct number, no perfect timeline. Satisfaction comes from fit, not imitation. The most liberating lesson may be this: you do not need to become a fantasy to have a fulfilling sexual life. You do not need endless desire, movie scene chemistry, or perfect performance. Your partay. You need honesty, consent, curiosity, communication, and compassion for yourself and your partner. When people stop chasing myths and start understanding human reality, sexuality often becomes less stressful and more meaningful. So the truth everyone needs to hear is simple but powerful. Fantasy sells images, but real life builds connection. The moment you stop measuring yourself against illusions is the moment you create space for confidence, healthier relationships, and a more peaceful understanding of intimacy that actually belongs to you. So, do porn stars always want sex? The clear answer is no. They are human beings, not symbols of endless desire. Like everyone else, they experience stress, fatigue, emotional needs, changing libido, boundaries, and personal complexity. What appears on screen is performance, not a universal standard for real-life sexuality. The deeper lesson is that many people compare themselves and their relationships to fantasy, then wonder why reality feels different. But real intimacy was never meant to look scripted or constant. Healthy sexuality is not about always being ready, performing perfectly, or matching unrealistic expectations. It is about communication, consent, emotional connection, self-awareness, and respecting natural changes in desire. When we let go of myths and start embracing reality, we become more confident, more compassionate, and more capable of building relationships rooted in truth rather than illusion. And that is where genuine satisfaction begins.